Mic test. 1, 2, 1, 2. And we are live. Episode 36 of the Sunday afternoon sessions where we talk Atlas Earth. What's been going on in game, what you've been up to, what I've been up to, and everything. So I hope everyone has had a decent week. Sometimes we can just hope for a decent week. Not good, not bad, but this week has been pretty busy for me. If you saw the video I dropped last week, or actually yesterday, it went live for members on Friday night, and then it went live for everybody on Saturday afternoon. You'll see what I was up to. I actually did what I've been talking about for a number of months here. I was finally done saving, and I was able to make that jump from 1,500 to 1,725, which I'm here in the States, so that indicates the rough distance between the top of the 3 times multiplier and the break even in the 2 times multiplier. So I was able to do that. I released a video, and I know it was a little bit on the long side, but it was 225 parcels. Flipping the rarities on 225 parcels. So it was a bit on the longer side, and consider that whenever I made that video, I sped it up by 2.25 times. So it literally, some people were asking me, it took me more than an hour to buy 225 parcels. So it was interesting, and I got to a little bit above my break-even point. The next episode I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the numbers, and I'm going to see if it was even worth it when you hit the top of your 3 times multiplier at 1,500 in the US to wait to do that. As I did a video here a couple weeks ago where I looked at tier jumping overall and started the first 3 tiers, but my whole idea is that as time goes along, you make less and less off of tier jumping. In other words, saved rent. So that's the theory I have, and that's what I'm going to test when I do this. But, the big picture of everything is the more rent you can save, the better, right? So why lose rent if you don't have to? But I'm going to take a look at that and see actually how much rent I saved by waiting that. And it turned out to take me 2 months to save up those Atlas bucks. And now I am getting ready to go on a trip at Christmas, so I'm in savings mode again, but this time for badges, because I'm at 20%, a little bit above 20% boost, and I've got to make some headway going towards that 25% boost. So that's what I've been up to in Atlas Earth. What have you been up to, amongst other things? Also, I'll put this in here because it's the beginning of the week. Tomorrow's the big day. I put out a video here a week or 2 ago about them, YouTube making some changes as far as new rules, and I don't exactly think they're going to affect my Atlas Earth coverage. However, it's one of those things that it might, due to AI, you might see some changes on my Atlas Earth coverage. I might have to start putting some warnings in there, but we'll see how that goes, and I'll probably do a video overall for my whole channel coverage on how I was affected by those YouTube changes. So that's right up front. That's what's going on. A lot going on with me here. So I hope everybody has had a good week. And let's jump into chat. It looks like Arbin was here early. And I want to say a special shout out to Arbin. Arbin has been a big supporter of the channel, and I muchly appreciate it. As with the big changes in YouTube and AI have gone on, us YouTubers who try to provide some good coverage and interesting topics to talk about, what we're making is just going down. More money going into YouTube, that's like a big company thing, right? And people being laid off left and right. But, either way, thanks to everybody who support the channel by being a member, buying a t-shirt, sending in super chats like Arbin does. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's jump into chat and see what everybody's talking about. So let's see here. Other than Arbin, Eric Wang is here. Welcome, Eric. Thanks for dropping by. Southern Coin Hunter's here. Says, I finally got my first 20 Atlas bucks for being mayor. Nice. On that note, I also picking up those 225 parcels, I picked up my 5th mayorship. Haven't earned anything yet on it, but you know how that goes. You only get stuff once in a while. What we're hoping is, as you pick up more mayorships, that you get, once in a while, those Atlas bucks tick in, and it makes it worth it, right? So, okay, let's see here. Paul's here. Welcome, Paul. Good morning to you as well. Happy Blue Dolphin says, hi, good morning. All, how did you become mayor, Coin Hunter? Oh, talking to Coin Hunter. Well, you just buy more parcels. But there's strategy behind it. And I always like this mayorship I took over. I always like to have a cushion. Whenever I go in to take over, we've talked about this before, but I firmly feel that you want to go ahead and make sure that if you take over a mayorship, make sure you have a little bit of cushion on top of it. So I went in with this mayorship and it was 50, well, actually 49, because he was like 1 over. I like purchasing parcels in areas and being like on 25, like 100, 125, 150. I don't like being in between. Something in my brain does that. But anyway, he was at like 301 and I went to 350. So I like that little cushion so that if they want to take back the mayorship, they have to really think about it. Do I want to spend the Atlas bucks on this, etc.? So, and if you only take over the mayorship by a couple, then they can easily come in and take it back from you. So, Power Daz is in the house. Welcome. Thanks for dropping by. Terces is here. Welcome. Good morning to you as well. David's here. David's in the house. Lady Sharon's in the house as well. Good morning, Sharon. Still plugging away at the ladder. I am too, but I am almost finished. I was hoping that buying all this land would finish the ladder off for me, but what it did was it finished off 3 purchase parcel challenges. I was hoping for more than that, but that's what I got. So that's where I'm sitting right now as far as my ladder goes. So I'm pretty close. I don't really fear getting there. I'm just slowly chugging through it, just like everybody else, I guess. Blue Dolphin says, finally decided to save bucks, even though not even close to the tier jump. Somewhat still of a new member. Well, I would, if you haven't watched my video I put out a week or 2 ago about talking about tier jumps, I think it is a very valid strategy because it saves money overall, right? But it's, what I've finally come down to is I wouldn't beat yourself up over it, right? Because it's a few bucks here, a few bucks there. And hey, like I said, the idea is save any money you can and don't give up money. But if you do happen to break a tier, it's not the end of the world. Just go ahead and push, try to get towards the top of that tier, your break-even point as soon as possible, and get your money back, basically. Rob's here. Thanks for dropping by, Rob. Welcome to you as well. Lady Sharon says, I still have to listen to that video. I like watching that. Have to find a time where I can watch rather than just listen. Yeah, that is one where I did the numbers, did a spreadsheet. It took a number of hours to do the spreadsheet out. And the thing with videos and posting a spreadsheet is it can get boring really fast. So I just put the numbers up just to show people that I did the numbers. And then I condensed it onto some slides to basically give you some takeaways instead of just looking at a spreadsheet. Spreadsheets are interesting to a certain point, but they get boring really fast on a video. But with these kind of numbers, you have to do the math. And I'm not a big math guy, but with a lot of these topics, I do have to sit down and do it. Tom of the Llama's here. Welcome. Thanks for dropping by. Fun Games is in the house. Every day I get Atlas bucks for my 3 mayorships. That's nice. I get Atlas bucks probably on a weekly basis. I now have 5 mayorships. The other one I just had for a couple days, the 5th. But of my other 4, I commonly get Atlas bucks from 2 of them. And I'll probably get 20 to 40 a week maybe more on a good week, but that's kind of my average. And then again, sometimes I go a week without, getting any. But I think what it comes down to is, or I know what it comes down to is the higher population areas, right? Big cities or drive-through traffic areas. Of course, the trade-off, like we always talk about, double-edged sword there, is the fact that these mayorships also cost more to take over because they yield more Atlas bucks, right? So, but it's always nice when they tick through, right? Yoda's in the house, says, I got 7 parcels in mayorships a month, 700, because I have a few counties. Owning counties is way better than cities. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think the big cities are definitely worth it because those are, if you can afford them, right? And once again, it always comes down. What it comes down to is you want more people in the area to be able to have a higher possibility of them playing Atlas Earth and actually buying badges, right? That's why the big cities are hotly contested by the big dogs, right? And if you ask one of the bigger people in the game, you will see that a lot of times their strategies focus around taking the big cities, Philadelphia, New York City, in Los Angeles, and these kind of big cities, right? Because you got a ton of people there, and it's generally a large area that's covered within these badges. So, and there's a lot of us that are playing that we're basically just taking over what we can in our general area. That makes sense because I have some, like my main mayorship where I live, I've got like 700 plus, right? Just to take it, to take it over and maintain it. I've got like 100 more than the next highest person. But there's some places around me, like that one I just took over, it was at 350. But I have some borderline places, whether they're counties or cities, that I could take over, but it would take in the neighborhood of 700-800, right? So sometimes we just take over what we can get a hold of, right? I figure that having that's kind of in my mindset the end game, so to speak, of Atlas Earth right now is like taking over your mayorships. If you can get a governorship, or like I said, if you're a big dog, a president, then take that over, because the more Atlas bucks you can get for basically having that, the better, right? Okay, let's see here. Tom of the Llama says, I'm up to 40 cents with 20 parcels. Nice. Yeah, when you're in this, when you're in the very beginning of the game, it's easy to look at other people and say, oh man, I'm never going to get there. But it's really just a game of gradual increments, right? Just sticking with it and continuing. I'm trying to pull up my numbers again and just continuing. Like I said, I'm at about 1 year and a little bit over a year and a half, right? And this is where I am. But with that said, everybody plays differently, and you shouldn't really compare yourself against other players, because everybody finds their fine medium. Some people like different things within the game, and some people put a lot more hours into the game than other people. So don't compare yourself against others. Stick with it, and it just adds up over time. And I just looked down, and I just remembered that I forgot to get my coffee. Pro Gaming is here. Hello from Durham, England. Well, hello to you as well. Good evening or good afternoon over there. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Broke Daryl is in the house. With the fact of us not having a sell parcels feature, I can say that's easy to say. Tongue twister. What would your thoughts be about having an Atlas sellback feature where we could sell commons for 30% back to Atlas? No, I'd welcome this. I don't think that would make business sense to Atlas Earth. The commons are put in there at a 50%, and most people have a little bit better than 50%, just for the fact of that's kind of like the way they're earning. it's the moderating factor versus the higher rarities where we can make more. There's got to be a percentage where we can make a little bit less, right? And that's how the game was averaged out when it was designed. I don't know. I don't think they would put anything in the game to sell back the commons. They have the feature, a very expensive feature of upgrading your commons to legendaries with an LPU. But basically, I don't know. Your question there is we could sell commons for 30%. So so 100. So sell it back sell it back for 30 Atlas bucks. I don't know. I mean, I guess that the game would end up making overall. I'm not a mathematician. I don't know what would be the pros and cons of that. Basically, the question would be, okay, I spend 100 Atlas bucks on a parcel, and if I pull a common, then I can sell it back for 30. And then, rebuy it potentially for another 100. I don't think that would make sense, really. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't really think that would make sense because that would end up the user just. I think you would go in this hole where you're not making as much as you think you're going to make. In other words, it would be better just to have the commons and continue buying more than to concentrate on selling back and rebuying a common, so it's a higher rarity. I'd have to do the math, but my guess is I don't think you're going to go in a hole, which might make sense for their business, but from a personal player perspective, I don't think it would make sense. So if you're just joining us, thanks for dropping by. This is the 36th episode of the Sunday afternoon sessions. I almost said my other name of my other live stream. Where we cover Atlas Earth on a weekly basis. Let me know in the comments what you've been up to in Atlas Earth, and if you have any questions if you're new. That's what we meet here every week to do. Southern Coin Hunter says a guy had 10 parcels. I took over when I had enough to go up by 5 over, and now at 49 parcels over him. Nice. Yeah, like I said, just get that little bit of cushion where you kind of feel safe, and then put your eyes on another area, another mayorship in your area, and kind of start to strategize for that, and then take that over, and then just work out from there. Shaman 15's in the house. Says, anyone ever heard of Nostr? Nostr. I have not. It's built similar to Bitcoin, decentralized social media, free of suppression and free speech. I have not. There's a few other platforms like that I've looked at as an alternative to YouTube. And the fact of the matter is that a lot of these are up and coming, and they are alternatives, and they do offer people routes to express yourself. And I'm not going to go down that route of like making this a political thing, because I'm not, because it's not a fun thing to talk about. But what it comes down to me is YouTube is still the big dog on the block, and and even at this point where my channel is it's still growing a little bit at a time. I'm still a very small YouTuber, and if I decrease the amount I'm earning right now, it would almost be like not even worth it from a money standpoint, right? So, the answer to your question is I have not heard of Nostr. Shaman 15 goes on to say, if YouTube plays any game silencing anything on my channel, I will go to it. Well, there's some other alternatives. I'll have to look into it. And there's there's another big alternative, and I forget the name right off, that's also kind of blockchain based. And there's another big alternative that is just like a standard video platform. It's not on the blockchain or anything. But their whole goal is to, and there are other alternatives, on the other side of the aisle as well, because I think everybody feels that whatever side of the aisle you sit on, you feel like you're being infringed. I think with the YouTube changes, I don't think it is politically motivated. I know it is definitely just money motivated. And YouTube is changing over from being what it has in the past, a platform where you can just get on and make videos. So they are aiming at, or they have taken over the direct competition with like Netflix and the big movie houses in the United States and across the world. That is their competition now. So they just want, they're focusing on making that almighty dollar, right? So we'll leave it at that. And I think I've taken some enough backups and everything like that. So we'll see what happens. And the best I can do is put out a video and let everybody know what actually happened and how it affected my channel. So Symbian Ministries in the house. It says hi to Program Gaming. They're also in County Durham over in England. Well, welcome. Appreciate everybody dropping by, especially it's later in the day over there around dinner time. Happy Blue Dolphin says, finished with ladder, but still haven't got the badge that you supposedly get. How long does it take for them to send it out? It should have been automatic. It should go right into your, at the bottom of the, oh no, that is the LPU. The LPU goes into your inventory, but the badge should go right onto your brain fart, right into your passport. So I haven't gotten mine yet because I haven't completed yet, but yeah, it should go directly in your passport. As always, if there's a problem, contact support, right? Annalise is here, says, did you collect it in the prize ladder? If so, and it's not showing in your passport, restart your app. Okay, as always, like we always like to say, it's always good if you're running into issues, not just with Atlas Earth, but any program or any application, try restarting the app itself, and also try doing a hard power down of your mobile device or your computer if you're dealing with a program on your computer, because as you all know, probably know, I'm a IT guy. And everybody gets tired of hearing that from us IT people, but a lot of times that solves the problem. It pulls the data fresh and then it updates. So, okay, so Poker Mouse is in the house. Welcome, Poker Mouse. Thanks for dropping by. Supporter of the channel. Says, hi, Bronze. Hope all's well. Caught part of your stream with Pharaoh Silver. I'll watch the rest of that tonight. Yeah, the first episode of Pharaoh Silver and I's like team up. He put it out yesterday. We recorded a couple weeks back, but it's on his channel. Go check it out. The topic is pay to win gaming. So it's not necessarily like just Atlas Earth. It's the whole topic in general. It was a good discussion. It's 45 minutes. Not a whole lot of graphics other than just me and him and my head. So you can, if you're doing something else, you can turn it on and just listen to it as a podcast. But it was a good discussion, and we intend on doing these once in a while. So different topics. So if you have a topic that you would like to hear us talk about, go ahead and drop it in the chat or in the comments of that video, and we'll keep a list, so. Crypto Limbo is here. Says, hey, Dragon, seen you in Pharaoh's video last night. Looking forward to seeing what's next. The next topic is actually Web3 gaming. I have to get prepared for that. I have some time off on Thanksgiving week, so we might record it on Thanksgiving week. Depends upon what his schedule is like. So look forward to that. And then this next episode will be on my channel. And what we're going to do is we're just going to flip back and forth. It's this new feature in YouTube where you can team up with people, but it's still, I think the whole thing still needs a little bit of work because you still have to post it on one person's channel. I would think by now that with AI, if you team up with somebody, it could go to both your channels and both of you could split the views and all that. That's not how it's exactly working right now. So, but either way, we figured we'd try out the new feature and see how it goes. We always have a good discussion. So Blue Dolphin says, I restarted the app a couple of times and it still doesn't show up. And then Annalise replies, in that case, please reach out to Atlas support and they can look into it. Yeah, that's going to be really the answer to most of the problems that are not fixed by restarting the app. It's going to be make sure you got a ticket in, so. Blue Dolphin, Happy Blue Dolphin says, yes, I know, but wanted to know how long does it actually take to receive it? Usually it's automatic. Every month I've completed, every month that there has been the ladder, and it's been automatic as soon as I claimed it. Hey, Ann's in the house. Welcome, Ann. Thanks for dropping by. Says, hi, Bronze Dragon and all. Congrats on the recent major goal accomplishment in the 225 parcel reveal. It's a pretty good week. I finally got to do that. Although, like I said, it took me more than an hour walking around. It's basically I bought near a shop at a shopping center, right? And my purpose was that area is a relatively highly populated area, and a lot of people come through the shopping center. So that's why I bought that shopping center. And I basically own the whole shopping center now, except for the parking lot. But thank you, Ann. Arvin says, I'm some hours behind because I was busy. Oh, well, thanks for dropping by, Arvin. As always, I know you also gave some super chats. I muchly appreciate the support of the channel. As always, like I said, a lot's going on. YouTube's taken basically what every big business is doing, taking money away from the small man or woman and giving it to the business, So, and Annalise says exactly what I did say. It says usually the badge or the SR or the LPU, if you have the other side, is pretty much immediate. Hey, Brandtastic's in the house. Brandtastic is here and late to the game. Sorry. Hey, yeah, we were wondering where you were, Brandon. No, just kidding. Yeah, thanks for dropping by. No problem. You can always catch up, re-listen to it again. We've just been talking Atlas Earth as usual. Yoda says 1,600 for my counties, but taking a big city is 1,000 plus. Yeah, I know what you mean. And you lose it in a day, so I don't know. Yeah, the big cities where you're competing against the big guys, it's or the big dogs, it's I can't do it. I think Philadelphia is like 3,000 or 4,000 or something to take over. That's the nearest big city to me, so I can't even think about doing that. If you go in on a big city, you've got to be ready for a big fight. But I'm just talking about smaller cities that are around where you live, where there's a lot of people, and that's where us small players got to kind of concentrate, right? Crypto Limbo says they're up to $435 with 220 parcels. That's nice. That's nice. I am at $628, and like I said, I got 1,725 parcels. I do need to dump some money out into my PayPal, though. I'm at $29 of rent saved up, so I'll probably dump 25 of that out into. I probably should have already done it. I usually do a dump out. I usually pull rent out immediately after an SRB. I just forgot to do it this time. But I put it into PayPal, and I got PayPal savings, so it's like a mini savings account earning like 3.8% or something like that. A little bit's a little bit, right? Poker Mouse says, I'm sitting at $99.6, about to break the $100 club. Nice. That's always nice, meeting those increments, right? You're definitely proving to yourself that it's you're making progress in the game, because like I said at the very beginning, it can be very minuscule. It takes a long time to add up, but finally when you start getting to those different increments, you're like, hey, I'm building something, right? Hey, J Long 8986 is here. Says, hey, Bronze, I'm having a hard time of what I call parcel paralysis. Wow, that sounds scary. Saved up 2,600 Atlas bucks and haven't purchased any since the free one I got. Love the principle of the game and your content. Oh, wow. You haven't purchased any? Wow. Well, you really need to buy some. You need to get yourself started. And if you're sitting down at the bottom, I think your first, I'm assuming you're here in the United States. Either way, I think you need to build to 40 parcels and buy your first batch. That really, across the board, that's pretty much what you're going to do. Buy 40 parcels. And like I said, we've been talking about taking over mayorships. And, you know, you're just starting out and you may think, oh, I can't take over mayorships. But you still have to have that in your mind so you can look at the map on the web page. You log into atlasearth.com, and up at the top there's a map, and you can see your local surroundings, and you can scroll around and see where the mayorships are and see how many it's going to take over mayorship. So it's not too early at the very beginning of the game to get an eye on the landscape around where you live and start planning where you want to take over mayorships. So if you, right where you live, it's very expensive to take over the mayorships, maybe you look out slightly outside that area a little bit, find a mayorship where you have a shot at it, and then just drive over there and start buying the parcels. Like I said, I've got parcels in graveyards, I've got parcels in shopping centers, things of that nature. You go to where you can logically, walk around and buy your parcels and start building those parcels up. And eventually, after a while, you'll take over that mayorship. And after you have a cushion on that mayorship, then you can find the next one. It's just the whole goal of the game, as far as the end game, so to speak, because the more mayorships you take over, the more extra free Atlas bucks you're going to be able to get when people, buy a badge. I firmly think that, at the very beginning of the game, I felt like, oh, that's too far off. That's not, I don't have a shot at that. But I firmly think that at the very beginning, that's a perfect time to look at your surroundings. Of course, whenever I first started the game, we didn't have the maps. Let's pull up the maps just to take a look in case, let's see here. Okay. I'm going to pull up the map. If you go to atlasearth.com and log in with your account, I'm logging in now. You can take a look at the surroundings, and I've noticed that they have been working on making the maps better. So let's okay. Okay, so we're on the map, and you can see these black lines. Okay, so this is right around Washington, D.C. So if you are the mayor of Washington, D.C., all this black line encapsulates Washington, D.C. But if you go outside of that, you can see, and that's going to be obviously a big city. So let's look at who the mayor is here, and you can see A.J. Downtown is the mayor of D.C., or the governor of D.C. He's also the governor, but he's the mayor of D.C. So he's the governor of the state, but mayor. Is D.C. one of those things where you're mayor and governor at the same time? Either way, 3,400. Let's look at the surroundings. The surroundings, you can see that they've been working on the black lines, so you can see them scrolled out a little bit more. You used to have to scroll in a lot further to get the black lines, but these black lines separate where all of the mayorships are. So say, for instance, let's go Hyattsville. Let's see, this is Hyattsville, slightly outside DC, and we can see that Mykonon is mayor of Hyattsville with 195. So you can look around and see, this is a relatively easy one to take over. 195 sounds like a lot when you're first starting out, but if you live in this area and wanted to start gradually building up, then you could go over here and just start adding up. But if you scroll over a little bit more, we are in Riverdale Park, and this takes only 60 to take over. But like I said, it's all in strategy and figuring out where you want to go to take over mayorships, and just go over there and start building up and placing your parcels strategically. So, okay, so that's my take on that. Summer Horn says, hello everyone. I'm in savings mode due to a lot of traveling I'll be doing around Europe next month, trying to get a bunch of badges. Nice. I'm also in savings mode for badges since I just bought my parcels and we're going somewhere for Christmas across the state. So I will be buying badges along the way. I don't think I'm going to be able to make enough to get to 25%, but I'm going to knock off some of them while I can. Brent is here. Welcome, Brent. Says just over 7 months with 220 parcels and 25% passport boost. Nice. So you decided to go really hard on the passport, and you're sticking at the 220 for the time being. But that's good progress. That's an example of, like I said, once you get that 25% boost, then the passport boost is flat overall. It's on at all times, right? And currently that's the top, unless they make some changes to the game. And, let's take these down. They had talked about making changes to that, but I think that kind of fell off. They were talking about making some advancements on that and extending the passport in some way, but they stopped talking about that, and I haven't heard any discussion about that lately. So, Arbin asks, I want to ask, when someone has 70,000 parcels, what percentage, I don't really understand the question. I want to ask, when someone had 70,000 parcels, what percentage got except the... Yeah, I don't understand the question, Arbin. And at 70,000 parcels, that's a lot of parcels. We can probably take a look at one of the bigger players. So it looks like Stealth is at 65,000. So I'm not sure exactly what the question is, Arbin. But it looks like Stealth has slightly less than 70,000. And you can see what the distribution looks like over there. And you can see that he or she is the governor of 4 states and the mayor of a lot of big cities. You can see that the larger players target those bigger cities. Of course, they're more expensive to take over, obviously, but you can see that Stealth is the mayor of Chicago, Sioux Falls, Milwaukee, Des Moines, Kansas City, Lincoln, the second Kansas City. So a bunch of big towns. Deadwood, not that that's a big town, but that's a cool town to be mayor of. So in Count Maximus, same kind of thing. You can see that he's the governor of 5 different states, as well as mayor of a bunch of big cities as well. You got Raleigh, Baltimore, Memphis, New Orleans, Charlotte. And you can see that this is a whole strategy with the bigger players, right? They strategically, obviously, you live in one state, right? But you strategically fly around the country and get governorship of the big or mayorship of the big cities, which have a high population. Obviously, some of these players are probably they probably have another reason for traveling a lot, like business or something like that. But I'm sure there's a few of them that just they make enough money to go ahead and have decided to travel around and do that. But the big cities are their focus. So. But if that did not answer your question, Arbin, let me know, reply to one of my videos with a better explanation of your question, and I'll put it into a video. Okay, so I need to do my 20-minute ad, so I'll stick that on there. Okay, back to chat. Let's see here. Rob asks, I was wondering how the game might look after all or most of the parcels are sold. How would a new player compete in this scenario? Well, I don't know the numbers, but they were talking about it here a little while back, Annalise and them, and they said that it's going to be a long while before all parcels are bought. Now, with that said, the big cities and very frequently traveled areas are going to sell out first. And then the ones you're going to have to keep going further and further out in the country to find parcels, right? So that's the evolution of the game. And I'm sure I've thought about that in the past. You know, what happens with the evolution of the game when places start to sell out? Well, one answer to that is the fact that we start selling off parcels. If you want to sell off parcels, right, to make a profit, right? Well, they took that out of the game. A lot of people poo-pooed me, said, oh, this should not be part of the game. It's like, that's part of every land game. Part of buying land is reselling it for a profit, right? So that's where that comes into play. Of course, people say, well, there's tons and tons of parcels. That's true. That's current, but what I'm doing is looking down the road. So I think the direct answer is we don't have to worry about that for quite a while because there's plenty of open parcels. Also consider that when people start up accounts and they get 1, 2, or 3 plots or parcels and they don't do anything with the account and they stop playing, after a while, after a year or so, those can be returned back to the game. So I'm hoping that at some point they put the ability to sell parcels back into the game, because I think that's the true end game. The true end game of a land game is buying and selling of parcels, okay? Selling for profit, right? But that's out of the game currently. Clint says, about reselling comments back to Atlas Earth, that is what the LPUs are for. Yeah, it's true. It's true. That's the one option like I had brought up, but it's extremely expensive. And I don't feel that it's worth it, right? I guess it could be worth it if you like the artwork. Definitely. People buy skins in every game, even if you're not making money off of it, right? If you like the artwork, cool. More power to you. But as far as the numbers go, to me, it's far better to just buy 25 more parcels and have a very good chance of getting a legendary in 25 and a couple epics than just upgrading one, right? Now, like we've talked about it in the past, there are some situations where maybe LPUs are a good pick. Like if you're housebound and you can't get outside your house much, then you don't have access to a lot of different parcels, and the parcels that you do have, it would be better for them to be legendary, right? So Southern Coin Hunter says, I'm locking down my area first. That's what I did too. Nobody's taking my area back unless it's a big dog and wants to come through and spend a couple thousand, right? Ann says, I'm hanging at 220 parcels in the USA, buying badges in level 2, and will complete the challenge ladder today. Nice. Yeah, I mean, I have to say the challenge ladder, since they started the subscription, has really helped me out. One of the frequent questions I get on my channel is, hey, how have you advanced so quickly? Well, one of the reasons is that I've been subscribed to the challenge ladder and completed it every month since it's been out. And it came out last November, so this is the year anniversary of it, right? And it's massively changed since then. So one of the reasons is that, you know, all those extra Atlas bucks have really helped me out, as well as the LPUs, right? Blue Dolphin says, 40 parcels to be mayor. Wow. My area has someone with over like 900. Yeah, it all depends. And like I said, the higher population, the more flow through traffic, the higher it's going to be, because the more you stand to earn off of it, right? Lady Sharon says, I'm listening here, and even though an alternative to YouTube would be good, the reality is I pay to not have ads. I don't want to deal with that on another platform unless they did more realistic. Yeah, I mean, it's give and take. There's a lot of alternatives out there, but the fact of the matter is that YouTube is the big dog on the block, and in big company fashion, they're doing whatever they can do to make more money, right? And the fact of the matter, from a content provider's perspective, is that if you switch to another platform, you're going to probably make, I don't know, less than a quarter of what you make on YouTube, even with all the changes they make. So it just comes down to a question of time and effort, whether you figure it's worth your time and effort to do that kind of content. I still like producing the content I do. What I'm making is actually going down. Just when I got to the point with my channel where I was kind of making headway and felt like it would be a good alternative whenever I retire, yeah, so not so much anymore. But I'm still going on with it. It's still fun to do, and we'll see what the changes bring, right? So I still like hanging out on the weekends here for an hour or two and talking with everybody. Happy Blue Dolphin says, I know for a fact 900. I know it's more than that, and I just don't recall. Yeah, like I said, there's areas around me that take 8, 9, 1100, 1200 to take, you know. That's just what it is. You just have to decide where you want to compete and where you logically can compete, right? So Sharon says, ads, and I certainly would not subscribe with some of those platforms out there. Yeah, I mean, everybody has their choices. Just like I have a choice of, you know, where I take my content. There's some places where I'm just kind of doing a little bit extra. Like I now have, whenever these live streams are live, it's on YouTube, and then the next day it's recorded, so I also put them up on Spotify. I've started doing that. I'm not currently earning anything off of that, but I'm trying to build and just kind of repurpose my content so that if you missed the live stream and you happen to be subscribed to Spotify and you prefer listening to that in your car on the way to work, you can do it. Just another option. You've also noted that sometimes I put up some shorts, YouTube shorts. I take my previously recorded material and try to break them down into shorts and put 1 or 2 out every once in a while. Not that they make me a whole lot of money. It's very hard to make any money off of shorts without doing these dumb brain rot videos. But I'm trying to do anything I can do to kind of bring the channel forward. Kevin asks, have you noticed that we can't see who's in Explorers Club anymore? Yeah, I saw that brought up, and I think that's an issue. Annalise would have to say, but I think she said there's a problem with it and they're looking into it. We used to have a little logo. I'm not an Explorer Club, but there used to be this little logo. It was a little compass logo. I'm not sure if that was purposely done, if it was a problem. Steven says, the best advice I've received on this game came here when we talk about tier jumping. Well, yeah, I was hoping all this discussion would help somebody out. Everyone needs to check out the AE calculator. Shows your break-even point at every level. It does that. That's something that he has added over the last few months or since I started looking at it. Let's go back to this page. Wrong page. Well, let's just search here. And you should note that the break-even point changes slightly. So if you're on the main page here, if you scroll down to the middle, you see this button that says Show Boost Break-Even Chart. And when you click on that, then it will show you. Now, you have to make sure that when you start using this, that your location is set correctly. Because if you're playing from the UK and you have USA set, right, the numbers are going to be all wrong. Okay, so just make sure that your location is set correctly, the hours per boost day is set correctly, the number of badges is set correctly, and then you can look at your break-even chart. And keep in mind, this is going to be in the general neighborhood because everybody has slightly different rarities, so it's going to be a little bit different. but it gives you a very good idea on where your break-even point is. Lady Sharon says, also here, I've uploaded my videos personally. I'm a little concerned because that's how the platform was originally. I don't know if there's a limit, but it would make sense someday that there would be. Well, it's all business thing. And kind of in the back of my mind is that I think YouTube is trying to cut down on the very low end, trying to reduce the amount of they have thousands and thousands of hours of videos that are loaded to YouTube on a daily basis. So it's costing them. It's going into the cloud. It's going onto their infrastructure. So it's one of my ideas is trying to cut down some of that to save some of the money. But you know, I'm also a pessimistic kind of person. So Crypto Limbo says, I know a town where you can become mayor with 3 parcels in Georgia. Yeah, I mean, there's probably plenty of towns out there or counties out there that you can take over with just a few parcels. And why not do that if you can, right? But also don't expect to get a whole lot of Atlas bucks out of them and badges, right? Because you have to have more people in that area playing the game. Clint asks, hey, did you hear that Disney Plus is about to jump into the deep end of user-generated content? I did not. I'll have to look into that. I do subscribe to Disney Plus because my wife and daughter like that kind of content. Also, I do. I like Star Wars and Marvel stuff and everything. But I'll have to look at that. Obviously, all the big names are probably going to try to, fight it out for the money. It's all about advertising, So, Happy Blue Dolphin says, thank you, Bronze Dragon, for showing me how to look for the badge. Silly me. I was expecting to be able to choose a badge. No, well, you can. When I started, they didn't have that map. So that's something that came on like in the fall of last year, I think. So it's great. You can go to the map and it does show you where, you can sit there and search around and strategize, but you still have to go over there and actually buy the badge. Thank you, Bronze Dragon, for your videos and content. Well, I appreciate it. I'm glad that they give value to people, players. When I started out, I didn't know a lot of this stuff. I was able to read Tasty Wallet's guide, which is still up and is still a great guide to use as far as I know, and a few other things like Pharaoh Silver was doing content on it, but there wasn't a whole lot of content out there. So when I started coming up and learning these things about the game, I'm like, hey, this would make a good video, So Power Daz says, just completed my ladder. Nice. Feels good, doesn't it? Poker Mouse says, don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah, always pay attention to that, please. You get tired of YouTubers say that, but with the algorithm, that's all. It's a lot of things that we're worried about, because as soon as you leave that like and put a little bit of a comment underneath that video, and then subscribe if you're not already subscribed, that tells the algorithm, hey, I should push this video or this live stream out to new people. And that's what it's all about, because, yeah. Brandon asks, do you think the ad Palmon Survival seems like a Pokemon copycat to you? Pharaoh Silver would be the person to ask about Palmon, because we just did a team up episode that was just released yesterday about pay to win games, and I have not played Palmon. From the artwork that I've seen, it does kind of look that way. But you should ask him questions about Palmon. It does kind of look like a little bit of a copycat, but the takeaway there is his feelings are that, and you can watch that video over on his channel if you want to find out more, but it falls under the pay to win category. So if you start to play, you can play, but you're never really going to get very far in the game without paying for stuff. So. But if you have further questions about Palmon, you can ask him. Paul says, love the new update to the maps. I can see cities better. Definitely. Yeah, they definitely have improved the maps. It used to be you had to scroll in pretty far just to see the little badge, the black lines around the counties and the cities to see, and it was hard to maneuver around. Clint says, I've got a cruise coming in March where we are going to Mexico to a couple different cities and states. So I think I'll be able to get there on that trip. Yeah, I mean, Mexico's live. Now you'll be playing by their tiers when you're down there. But you can buy parcels, you can buy badges and stuff. But you'll switch over to their earning chart. Crypto Limbo says, I'm a mayor of a town in South Dakota with 17 parcels and usually receive 20 Atlas bucks a month for it at the past 2 years. Oh, that's nice. I mean, it falls under the category in basically in my head, just kind of like rent. Tier jumping and rent. Why not save money versus give it back up to the game, okay? And with taking over mayorships, why not take over mayorships and make a few extra Atlas bucks here and there than not, you know? So any extra Atlas bucks or rent is good in my book. Hey, Kathy's here. Kathy says, hello, someone new has started playing in my hometown. Nice. Maybe not so nice for you if you got competition, but it's good that we're getting new players, right? He is buying parcels at a fast rate. Luckily, he is buying in other towns where I don't go. I have to keep a close eye on this guy. Yeah, I mean, that's what you can also use the map for, right? But like I said, areas where you're mayor, one of the other things you have to think about continually is reinforcing your mayorship. Don't let them get too close, right? In other words, the way I think about it is that I want to have a nice cushion there to where people really have to think, do I want to go in and spend that much money to take over that mayorship or spend that many Atlas bucks, you know? So Crypto Limbo says, yeah, Dolphin, you should find a small town and lock it down. Yeah, I mean, what it comes down to me is, like I said, is even if they're small towns, why not have mayorships? It's better to have mayorships and spread your parcels around than to buy in one area and basically just use them all in one area, right? So get as many mayorships as you can, even if there's the smaller ones. You know, once in a while you get extra Atlas bucks, right? It's the same parcels you're buying, same number wise, right? So why not have some mayorships, right? Lady Sharon says, the thing is, what are you going to do with Atlas bucks when you sell? You can only buy parcels, and if there's nothing to buy, then what are you doing? How do you utilize that money? Buy more parcels so you can earn more rent. So if I buy a parcel uptown at a fancy restaurant and somebody wants to buy it back from me for 3 times what I paid for it or 5 times what I paid for it, then I take those Atlas bucks and turn around and buy more parcels to increase my rent. Simple answer. Or badges if I had needed them, you know. Or use them in the new feature that is coming soon. You know, any of the new features that are coming soon, right? So landmarks specifically. Or use them to buy legendary parcel upgrades. So there's plenty of things you could use them for. But the whole idea is to make profit. And in this game, how you make profit is make your parcel rarities better to increase your rent, or buy more badges, you know, or overall, basically the idea is just have more land, right? So Rob says, I have an idea. Maybe Atlas Earth should sell a crypto coin, an AP coin. I would buy some. I heard of another app game is doing this and opening a shop to spin them. Yeah, you know me, I'm into Web3. I'm generally into that. But I will say that Atlas Earth is strictly not that. It would have to be redesigned. The whole thought process and how rent is earned and everything would have to be redesigned with Web3 crypto in mind. They've said that they're not into that. It would really take, they would have to spin off and do another version of the game. Atlas Earth, Web3, or whatever, to be able to do that. You cannot just take a you can't at the risk of boring half the people in this conversation, you cannot just take I've been around enough Web3 games. Some have failed, some keep going. You all know I cover Splinterlands. Splinterlands is a Web3 card collectible game that has been going for 7.5 years now. So you cannot just take a crypto coin and slap it on a game and expect it to work. The whole design of the game has to start at the base with crypto in mind. Okay. With that said, they've talked about having crypto as just a cash out method. That doesn't affect the game. So I'm all for that, right? And in fact, if they started a secondary game where the game was actually crypto oriented, I'd probably play that, right? But you can't just take a token. While I like the idea of it, you can't just take a token, create a token, and slap it in the game, because it affects so much within the game. This game is designed from the ground up, really with advertising in mind, and there's a lot of math that goes on behind. A lot of these questions about people ask on a weekly basis, hey, why don't you change this? Why don't you change this? It really just comes down to math, and just like anything else, the math has to favor the house, or in this case, Atlas Reality. It's a business. They have to make a profit off of it for it to be worth it to them, right? So I'll leave it at that. It's a more in-depth discussion, and I'm not a pro at this. I just have been around the Web3 space for long enough that you just can't take a token, create a new token, and slap it on a game and expect it to work. So I do like the idea. I'm on your side of the fence. I would probably play a version of this game if they started on the Web3 side, but as it is, I don't expect anything. And I would be really surprised, because I haven't even heard of them discuss the whole Web3 crypto payout option, which has been coming soon. I'm not even certain. Is it still there? Do they still have it labeled as coming soon? I forget where it was. I guess it was under cash out, wasn't it? I'm trying to... No, I guess that's it comes at the cash out. I know I've seen that before. Oh well. I think it's when you do your cash out, and then they give you the option of how do you want to get the cash out. Then you see crypto and it says coming soon. But Lady Sharon says, I guess at that point you could try to sell a bunch of your common and rare to new players and then upgrade. Well, the thing is that it's not really the only way somebody would buy a common is if you could sell it for less than 100 Atlas bucks. Because why would you buy a common for more than 100 Atlas bucks? You can just spend 100 Atlas bucks and get a common, unless they just want that area. Okay, so what I'm saying is the resell feature would, I guess in some instances, be down to selling like legendaries. People want to pick up epics or legendaries, but it would be more about location. Like, hey, this is my favorite restaurant. Somebody owns the whole thing. I would still want to buy a parcel here so I can buy one from them. Or, hey, it's Disney World. I want to plot in Disney World. Something along those ideas. Ann says, please remember to smash that like button. Yes, please do. Helps me out. Doesn't cost anything. Annalise says, we intentionally do not have a crypto coin. Just exactly what I said. Like I said, it comes down to, it would have to be, the whole game would have to be devised with crypto in mind. Paul says, I am at 260 parcels in savings mode to buy badges. I use commuter rail to get badges. That's a nice idea. Get a lot of badges in one trip. Yeah, we've talked about this before. If you don't drive, you can use the train, you can use buses, what have you. You just have to be saved up and buy badges as you travel around. Don't buy them while you are driving. Don't collect diamonds while you're driving. Very dangerous. I do this whenever my wife's driving, or I hand the phone over to her and let her buy badges or collect diamonds when I'm driving. Otherwise, it's kind of like putting your makeup on or eating a cheeseburger when you're driving. Very dangerous. Brandon says or asks, several months ago, I got on the Badge Money app and cashed out twice and discovered a workaround so I can direct deposit to PayPal. Do you got any tips or tricks on the Bridge Money app? I do not. I have not used Bridge Money. That's once again probably a better question for Pharaoh Silver because he has reviewed it several times and he kind of looks at those things. I have not used it, so I can't really tell you anything about it. Sorry about that. Arbin says, I am saving for jumping 60,000 parcels. Whew, that's a lot to save up. And I thought the 22,500 I just used was a lot. But good luck on that, Arbin. Southern Coin Hunter says, I am about to go back to Walmart to buy an air filter. That is where my Amp mission is with Checkers for lunch. Oh, the Checkers burger joint. It's a small burger joint. I remember, I have not went to Checkers in years. I went to a Checkers in Gulfport, Mississippi one time whenever I was in the Navy and had the worst hamburger possible. It wasn't even cooked through. It was just a greasy mess. And that's the last time I went to a Checkers. So I hope your lunch is a lot better than that. Arbin says, I hope it's still 2% or more. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Well, you as well, Arbin. Have a good week. Brandon says, congrats on your huge tier jump, by the way. Hopefully, you're not at that magic number for taxes. I believe the magic number is 600. Well, yeah, I'm not up to there yet, but I have passed the 600 mark, but that's total up I have made over. And I don't think it's going to affect my taxes because I don't, taxes is a whole nother discussion. I am not a financial advisor. None of this we're talking about is financial or investment advice. And I say talk to whoever prepares your taxes about it. So, but frankly, I don't think it's going to affect my taxes. So, Southern Coin Hunter says, my ladder is almost done. Hey, Ty Ross is in the house. Says, hey, Bronze, just got home from church. Crossed $300 yesterday. Nice. Is there any arcade games you keep playing after you got all your awards? There's probably a couple. One of them is Raid Shadow Legends, just because I think it's a pretty fun game. I play it. Wow, that's huge. I put my phone over on my other monitor, and it's huge. Yeah, I'm not going to put that over. Yeah, either way, Raid Shadow Legends is one. Probably a couple others. I've been playing Disney Solitaire for months and months trying to complete it. I'm running out of time. I don't think I'm going to complete it. Frankly, most of them, Star Trek Fleet Commander is another one. But most of the games, which are kind of, most of the games when I complete them, first of all, I haven't completed a game in quite a while because the evolution of the games over the last year, the games have gotten harder, much harder to complete. Plus, the time frames have got much shorter. And they're doing that intentionally. It's all about the advertising dollar. They want to pay out less, obviously. They want you, at this point in time, if you're playing a game, you just have to hardcore it, right, to try to get through it. And, in a lot of these games, they've pushed the levels that you need to reach to complete the game up to insane levels. So I think that the games I have completed were from when I started last March till the end of last year. This year, I haven't completed a whole lot of games just because they take insane amounts of times to play them. Like I said, the one I've been pushing through now is the Disney Solitaire, and it just takes I've been playing it for maybe 2.5 months or something like that, and I've got like 30 days left or something like that. And it's insane to try and complete these games unless you just sit there and play them all day long, which who has time for that, right? Brandon says, I know I have asked you about the Flipper Zero some time ago, but wondering if a Flipper Zero could be a Bitcoin miner. I don't know. I'd have to look into that. I don't know off the top of my head what a Flipper Zero is. I've heard of it, but I don't know exactly what it is. And if it's Bitcoin mining is all about horsepower and a certain amount of compute power. And it requires a lot of electricity. So at this point, I talk to people, and I think you're better off just buying Bitcoin if you're interested in it. Not investment advice, than going to the extent. I used to be a miner, right? I used to have crypto mining gear. But at this point, it takes so much electricity to mine that to me, it's just not even worth it. Southern Coin Hunter says, been playing Raid Shadow Legends since COVID. I've been playing it for a while. I've been playing it for like the last year or so. This is one of those things I pick up and play once in a while. I picked it up lately because they had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on there, and I picked it up and got Michelangelo. Brandon says, we used to have a Rallies in my neck of the woods, which is Checkers is the Rallies network. Yeah, they basically are the same thing. Ty says, was watching a video. The $600 thing is no more. I'm looking to see if I can find it again. Blue Dolphin, Happy Blue Dolphin says, does the badge we get from the ladder affect the tier jump strategy? From my understanding, you only need one per 150 parcels. Well, it doesn't affect the tier. It does affect the tier jumping strategy. In that, if you look at Tasty Wallet's guide, which I include the link to underneath all my videos, you will see at certain points in your evolution through the game, it makes sense to stop buying parcels and buy badges so that you get through into your various 5%, 10%, 15%, 20% boost rate. And it just all comes down to math. And the math is basically, well, does it make sense to spend money and go over tier on parcels, or does it make sense to buy badges? Now, in the very beginning, when you make your jump from 5 to 10 to 15%, you don't need a whole lot of badges overall, right? So at certain points, it's pretty easy to stop buying parcels and just concentrate on badges for a while. But in the end, going from 15 to 20% and from 20 to 25, it takes a lot of badges. So what I've been doing when I hit those two tiers is just gradually buying badges. In other words, you get a badge for completing the challenge ladder. That helps you out, right? A lot of times you get the challenge on a monthly basis to buy badges. So you buy one here, buy one there to help you get through the challenge ladder, right? That also helps. But they basically all just kind of add up. And these last two tiers go into 20, and now on my way to 25, I've basically just been gradually getting the badges. And the best time to buy badges, like I've said, is when you go on a trip outside your normal area, so you don't have to drive. You'll be driving a lot on the trip, or if you fly or bus or whatever, but it's the best time to buy badges. You just have to have it planned out so you have the Atlas bucks saved up. And Ty says, maybe that's an idea for a video. I'm trying to think of what you're talking about. You talked about a $600 thing. You're talking about the taxes. No, I specifically do not do that because I am not a tax man. Tax regulations in every country and even in every locality and state are different. So overall, we're talking federal taxes in the UK, taxes in other countries, vastly different than what we're talking here in the States. And one of the things that I do not want to get hit on by YouTube is talking about trying to give like tax advice and stuff like that. What I will say is when you sit down with the person that fills out your taxes, talk to them about it. That's what I'll say. Okay, looks like the chat has slowed down. I just want to say thanks, everybody, for stopping by. Episode 36 is in the books. I hope you can join me next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, Sundays at noon Eastern time, where we talk Atlas Earth. Otherwise, I hope everyone has a great week. This has been Bronze Dragon. As I always say, I hope everyone on your side is happy and healthy. And hey, I'll see you in Atlas Earth.